Do, 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 do. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Ask Me Anything here on Studio Live today. If you've got a question and you're here live on Facebook or YouTube, all you need to do is drop it in the chat here. Just put the word question in front. We do things a little bit more casually in this one, so no forms to fill in, nothing difficult. Just put the word question. Hello to the folks we have here live. We've got Kim, Mark, Saga, Dr. Zordas, Amarasea, Scott, Huska. Hello to everyone. Danny Broderick, G'day Infarction. If you do have any questions, that's all you need to do. Throw them there, right here in the chat. I'm going to jump in and start with some questions that we've had through the week, because why not? Hey, let's get straight on into it. While you're getting your questions ready, we can answer some. I can do some of the work I need to do anyway, which is answer some questions. So I did a video this week about backing up in GarageBand, and I showed some of the ways that I back up in GarageBand by using iCloud Drive. And to me, this is the easiest way to back up in GarageBand to make sure that all of your files are safe. I'm trying to just find it. There it is. So that all your files are safe in here and that everything is working and backed up to the cloud. But there are other ways to do this, and someone has in fact asked, what about USB flash drives? Well, yep, you can use USB flash drives with your iPhone or iPad. Oh, here's one I prepared earlier. This is a massive 1 gigabyte Lexar drive. But here's the thing. There's a couple of things to keep in mind about using flash drives with your iPhone or iPad. You do need a Lightning to USB 3 adapter, because some of your flash drives will actually need additional power. I know it seems a bit wacky because they should just plug in and work. And Android folks get super annoyed by this because USB file support is much better on Android. It's one of the things that is just a thing. But again, if you're creating music, iOS seems to be the way to go. So make sure that you've got some power in a Lightning to USB 3 adapter, and then make sure it's formatted in an FAT or a standard Mac HFS format. If it's formatted in NTFS or any other sort of wacky format, ain't going to work. So they're the two things to keep in mind. Have a genuine adapter with some power and use the FAT format. So if you, like our friend Tim, who asked that question, want to use a USB flash drive with your iPhone or iPad, you can go ahead and do exactly that. We'll continue on. I'm going to ask him why he's late. Was I late today? It said showtime. Maybe I was 30 seconds. Maybe. But it's still only 3 minutes into the show. And look, I've already answered one question. So we're on the roll here. And I'm going to move a bit quicker today because I always get to the point where I haven't answered all the questions and we're at the end of the show. So let's get on and answer some more stuff that's come in from through the week. So I've got a question here. Was there an update in GarageBand which prevented the method of importing into GarageBand? Now, not that I know of. So this is importing your MP3s, your WAV files, your other files into GarageBand. I'll grab my mouse here so that we can move it around. It is still 100% possible to do this. So if you've never imported files into GarageBand, it's super fun. It can really enhance your projects, and let's just show you how. So we're going to go in here. I'll go to my ideas folder. We'll go to create a song, and we'll scroll over to the audio recorder. Not that we're going to use it, but just for the ability to get to our track view. I'm going to tap on the track view here, and all of your importing that goes on in GarageBand happens in this little loop icon in the top right corner. So we're going to tap on the loop icon, and here's all your Apple loops. But if you want to bring files in, you actually tap on this one here, Files. And here's all the files that I already have. Now, all of these ones are actually in your GarageBand file transfer folder. So if you want a quick and easy way to bring in your WAV files, your MP3 files, you don't want to have to browse here and import them separately. There is a bit of a workaround. Let's show you this now. We'll go to the Files app. Remember, your Files app is pretty much exactly the same, except that you can actually do a lot more file-related stuff. And if we tap here, sorry, I'll show you that again. iCloud Drive, GarageBand, this is where I always recommend that you store your stuff. But what you can do is on my iPad and GarageBand, there is this file folder called GarageBand File Transfer. And yes, here are all of the files there. So if you ever want to clean up your file transfer folder, you don't have to do it in GarageBand and do it sort of file by file. You can come in over here. The other good thing is that we can actually move files to here as well. So if I go to Audio Share, I've got a few different files in here. What's one that's not going to get me into trouble? Let's grab this You've Lost That Loving Feeling. And we want to bring this in because we want to import this file. So then we just hit the select button. We tap this one. We're going to copy it. Although I think you can only use move. I don't think copy exists. Oh no, we do. Under here we've got copy. So we're going to copy it from there. We're going to go to on my iPad, GarageBand, file transfer, tap in here, right click or right tap and hit paste. Oh, and I already had it in there. All right, well that's good, isn't it? Let's keep both. It'll create a second version. I happened to choose a file that I already had in my GarageBand file transfer folder. But anyway, there it is now. And then back here in GarageBand, it will have updated that. And there you go. We've got two versions of that. And if we want to bring these in, tap and hold, drag it on across and chuck it in there. And it will bring it in. Now you can see a problem here. It's only brought in the first 8 bars. So I'm going to undo that, because what you need to do before you bring in loops and things is actually tap on the plus button here and either give yourself enough bars to hold it or hit the automatic button. Automatic means that when you bring something in, it'll automatically adjust it to the entire length. Let's bring in this whistling idea this time. I don't even know what this is. There you go. This time we've brought it in, but if we zoom on in, it's got the whole lot. And what was my whistling idea here? Let's find out. Turn it up. It's a weird whistling idea that I had. And don't forget that if you're bringing something in that has a certain BPM, so if you're bringing in a loop or something like, where's one that has here, like this 110 BPM loop, and you're dragging it in here, you'll also want to make sure that you, oh look, there you go, the tempo is 110. So you can see that that one's lined up beautifully there. So if we mute out my whistling and hit the play button, there you go, brought in that nice loop. And we can build out over the top of that. So yeah, importing stuff, it still should be there. You just might need to dig around and find your files there. But keep that in mind. If you're trying to bring files in and you want to bring in a bunch of them, come over to here, because you can actually bring in a bunch of files at once by accessing your GarageBand file transfer folder under On My iPad, GarageBand for iOS, GarageBand file transfer. There you go. Hopefully that helps you out. Hello to other folks who've jumped in here. We've got Tom, Rochelle, Nate Dixon. Hello to you, Orchestra Eclipse, Scott, Sean. Who else have I seen in here? Bear, hello. Yeah, whistle while you work. Whistle while you work, indeed. I'm just going to scroll up and see. We've got some questions that have started to come in here, and we'll get to answering these. How about this one? Orchestra Eclipse says, please can you demonstrate how to smoothly transition from one track to another? From one track to another? Not quite sure that I understand. You might need to rephrase it, because I'm not sure what we mean by from one track to another. Do you mean bringing in like a sample or a loop and then transitioning from one loop to another? That might be some crossfading. Maybe just clarify exactly what you're looking for, and yeah, we'll look at some options that you have for crossfading and that sort of thing. Do you use other music stations than GB? Yeah, so I use GarageBand primarily on iOS. I have dabbled in Audio Pro and Cubase 3, and I've used Reaper on my PC in the past. So I have tried a few. From Jack Smith, hello to you. What do I need to get an iPhone video to play on PC? iPhone to PC, what I do, it depends. So most of your videos that you have stored are just in a standard .mov or MP4 file format. So you can, if we come over to here, you can actually export those. I actually use the Audio Share app, to be honest, Jack. So all of my videos that I use here, that I store, are in here. So this video import folder, this has, even though they'll show up here as just waveforms, this is where I kind of dump things in. The reason for this is that our iOS, Audio Share here on iOS, actually has a very cool function, which is this one here, Wi-Fi Drive. When you turn that on, it actually creates this web address on your local network, and then any other device, any iPhone, any Android tablet, any Windows or Mac computer can actually see this. If you go to that web address, it will actually show you these files. In fact, I can show you that. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So here's everything, like you're looking at this on my iPad right now. Everything is there. If I then open a new tab here in Chrome, bring it on across to here, and we go to that web address, 192.168, and don't worry, you can't go here because this is on my local network, so you don't have to worry, you're not sharing this with the world. There you go. You can see that all of those files that were here on my iPad are now here. So if I come into that video import, there they are. And all I need to do from here is just download them. So if I wanted to download this one, I just hit that button. It's going to download it straight in here from Chrome. So for me, that's the easiest way that I've found to do it. And it works the other way too. I can just drag and drop files onto here, and then they will actually show up right here on my iPad. So one of the little hidden gem features here in Audio Share. It's great for sharing your audio, hence the name. It's a great audio recorder. It's a great audio converter and ability to transfer your audio files, but it also works for any file type, including video, if you're transferring them around, and that Wi-Fi drive option is just the bomb. It's the bomb diggity, and it's only a $4 app. So I would buy Audio Share. It will solve all of your file transferring needs. Danny says, Pete, just ordered the WIDI Master Bluetooth MIDI. It looks good. It claims to be 3 milliseconds latency and works with iOS. I will be super fascinated to find out. I've never dabbled in any Bluetooth MIDI because I'm super scared of latency. And I've heard bad things about the bad latency that you might get from there. Jack says, what brand of foam panels or egg crates do you recommend for sound treatment? Now, you're talking to someone who hasn't treated their room, and sound treatment is probably not one of my fortes because, I mean, I do a lot of mixing in my headphones. I do have monitor speakers, but I haven't got a treated room. This is a multi-purpose room. I think I'm in the same boat as many folks are, which is that you can't really treat your room because you use it for other things. And this will eventually become my master bedroom again, even though right now it is my computer and my home studio room. So I'm not the best person to ask, but if you search around, Rick Beato, not Rick Beato, who is he? Bobby Osinski has a really good video about room treatment, and Warren Hewitt's talked about it a lot. I think even Mike at Creative Source has done some videos, so I would dig around and just look for acoustic treatment is what you're looking for. So search for some videos around acoustic treatment. I'm not going to claim to be an expert and start talking about stuff that I'm not that big on. So go ahead and find some of that, and you should be good to go. Christopher Stefani, in relation to Gwen, or who's the dude that there's a Simpsons writer, Gwen Stefani's brother, who played in No Doubt, was also a writer on The Simpsons. Which, there you go, little known fact. I've just forgotten his name. Anyway, probably no relation. Do you know if the iRig Pro Duo I/O power supply will power the iPad while connected? I know the iRig Pro I/O 1 input will, but I can't find anything on the Duo. Thanks. That's a really good question. I don't know. So let's do a quick bit of research, shall we? And see if it will. Because, yeah, that's the biggest problem that you have with using an iRig Pro I/O. Let's just go to Sweetwater and find it, is that it will drain the battery. Because it uses your iPad's battery, it will drain it. Now, I haven't actually, iRig Pro Duo, I'm just searching for this over here. I haven't actually used the AC. So here it is, the power supply for the Micro Amp iRig Pro Duo. So this is the power supply you need. Let's just take a look and see if it actually tells you whether it powers, because it definitely powers up the iRig, which means it's not leaning on your iPhone or iPad to power it up, but does it also power your iPhone or iPad? And I guess it might even depend. It wouldn't power it if it was an iPad Pro, because it wouldn't have enough power supply to do that. Let's see. Don't risk damaging your audio gear with a generic power supply using the real one. Yep, fair enough. High quality compact form factor when you don't rely on batteries for power. Yeah. So, no, it doesn't actually tell us, does it? And yeah, by the way, even though they say don't use a generic one, you just need to know the output voltage, the output amperage, and the size of the tip. The tip size is the hardest one, because they often don't tell you the size of the tip. So I might actually buy one of these one day and just actually get the size of it, because it doesn't actually have it here in the specs. It doesn't actually tell you. I would either ask a question here on Sweetwater, hit up IK Multimedia directly. They're actually pretty good with responding to things like that. So I would probably suggest doing that. But yeah, good question. Don't have the answer straight up, but yeah, I'm sure you'd be able to. Sure, you'll be able to find out if you do ask IK Multimedia, and let me know how you go. Because if you do find out, let's share it. Let's share the love, and tell other folks as well. Husker, how are the new Presonus Eris 3.5s for you? They are really good. So they're sitting here on my desk right now. I haven't swapped back to the KRK Rockets, and I probably never will, because they're just super handy. Having the power switch on the front and the volume control on the front's been really handy. It means that if I just want to turn them off. So before this show, with my old KRK Rockets, I would have had to physically pull them out, either go around to the back of both speakers and flick off the power supply, or physically pull out the cables from my mixing board before I went live. Otherwise, I'd get a whole bunch of feedback coming back through. Because if I turn this on right now, block your ears. But now, check. One, you can hear that I'm coming through the speaker. It's actually not too bad. It's not feeding back too badly. But if I start turning these up, you're going to start getting that sort of feedback there. So before a show, if I don't want that, I just flick the switch and they're off. Now, I know that's a simple feature, but it's something that's been handy. But no, I highly recommend them. I did a gear review show the other day for the best gear for 2021. And yeah, I'm thinking these are definitely the speakers of choice. For $100, you really can't go wrong. Highly recommended. And if you want to buy these or any other gear, of course, you can go over to this place here, studiolivetoday.com/gear. All my gear guide recommendations are right over there. Back over here. Greg Hernandez, hello to you. My 64 gig Air gets filled up fast with my workflow. Any tips for streamlining the cleanup process? Cleaning up and streamlining the process. I would go back to audio share again. That's something that I use a lot. So when I'm transferring a bunch of audio or video files around, using audio share here, and then it basically, I kind of use this as my middle ground, holding ground. So you can see here, I haven't followed my own advice and done much cleaning up lately because everything's kind of still sitting in here. And I don't recommend that because everything in here is just stored on my iPad location. I happen to have it on 2 different iPads, so it's not a big deal right now, but I would actually start moving these around. Check out the backup video I did recently around iCloud Drive. If you've got the money to spend to buy some more storage, I would recommend it. It just means that everything is stored right there in your iCloud Drive location. So I've showed this before, but in my GarageBand here, I separate things out into ideas, in progress, and completed, plus a bunch of other folders for various different things. And about once a month, I'll just go through and maneuver things around and move my projects into the relevant folders if they haven't been done. And I just find that useful. And then you've got another file structure. So I've showed this again as well, but I've got my Studio Live Today folder with everything related to the channel all stored in this one handy dandy place. So that's my recommendations, is to use iCloud Drive. If not, you can go the USB drive route. I just find it a bit clunkier. Or if you've got a Mac or a PC, use the Audio Shares Wi-Fi drive. I find that super duper handy myself. We're going to scroll on down. Scott, hello to you. Says Audio Share is, in my opinion, a must-have app for iOS. Yeah, I agree it. I agree it, Scott. I agree it with you. Audio Share it just does so many things. It does them really well. Just simple, easy to use. I've got a whole video on it if you haven't checked it out before. I'll show you where to get to it rather than show you everything right now. If you go to the YouTube and you type in my name, Pete Johns, and Audio Share, you're going to get a couple of videos here, so you can watch either one of these. You've got a short version there with just the facts, man, the 2.5-minute version, or I do a 54-minute deep dive. I did a live show all about Audio Share where I showed you absolutely everything. So before you buy it, if you want to check it out, make sure it's for you. I'd watch that longer form video. If I'm smart, and I've done my work, I do look. Got timestamps down there in the description. So timestamps down there showing you all the different things that you can do. And there you go. There's a deep dive demo. There's Q&A. There's the quick fire. Here's all the things that it can do. So go away and check that out. You won't be disappointed. I promise you. Orchestra Eclipse says, sorry, question. What I meant was if you have 2 different samples in one project, how do you smoothly transition from one sample to another without there being an awkward pause? Yeah, this is one of the toughest things to do when it comes to using external audio files and samples, and probably don't have the time in this show to do it. Maybe it's something I need to do a complete video about, because there's a few tips and techniques that you can actually use. Why don't I... Oh. Again, I'm in my Files app. I keep going into my Files app and then coming in here and going, where's my Create New GarageBand button? And it's because I'm in Files. I'm not in GarageBand, but look, they look identical. They're the same thing, aren't they? Anyway, we'll go back into GarageBand. So what's a way that we can do this? I'm just trying to think of the best way to demo this. We'll come out of that one. We'll go and we'll create a new song. And see, the thing is, with things like loops, it's actually quite easy to do. It's more when you're using samples and external type files that it's going to be a bit more difficult. So let's see if we can find some things to do this with. What's this wave file? Oh, that's this one here. So let's just pretend we're using this one and we want to we'll trim it back down. So we want this for 4 bars and then we want it to go into another sample. Again, this isn't going to be a great, this 110 BPM. There you go, that'll match. So if you're going between these, so there's kind of like a cutoff there. Let's just up the volume of this one so we can hear it a bit better, hey? We'll turn the gain up, use the clip gain. By the way, little mini tip there, clip gain, super cool. If you want to change the volume of just one clip, come in there, tap it, tap again, tap the settings, go to clip gain. It can just increase your volumes without you having to faff about with a bunch of stuff. So this one's okay because it literally transitions there. But what you really need to do is your fine tuning between samples is what you're talking about here. So let's just say that this one here, you wanted to actually have a little bit more of that. And you wanted to have one more guitar hit before it goes into there. Well, as you can see there, I'll just undo that. I'm just grabbing the handle, and because you've got non-destructive editing here, what you can do is, say we didn't want that first hit, we wanted one more guitar hit, you just grab that and drag it across like that, and then go, yep, there's my one last guitar hit, and this is what it will do. And then you're getting that pop, right? That's what most people are annoyed by, that little pop sound that you get there. Now, what you'll need to do with this is actually use a second track and do a little bit of automation to crossfade it. It's not easy to do, and it gets a bit clunky after a while, but here's what I would do. I would duplicate out the 2 tracks. I would grab this one and pull it down onto a second track, and then bring that back to there, and then have this one, and have some crossover there. And what we're doing with the crossfading is we're trying to reduce that clicky poppy that we're getting there. So if we did both of these again, so you're getting that really abrupt click, yeah? So what you want to do is put some automation on this one to, instead of it cutting off, to automate it down and to bring this one up at the same time. I mean, these samples, it'd be better if we had 2 guitars or 2 vocals, but you'll get the idea and then you can experiment with it. So we tap on this first one, we hit automation. What we're going to do is flick in the top left corner. I'm so glad the automation actually works now. And grab this one, tap a point, tap another point, and drag that point down. Do the opposite on this one, tap a point, tap another point, and drag this one up. You see what you're doing here? You're kind of creating a crossfade between the 2. And this will mean that this one will quickly ramp down and this one will quickly ramp up. Let's take a listen. Can you hear how with that automation on there, it's just a smoother transition? Again, bad samples to use here, Pete, but take another listen. You're not getting that really pronounced click or pop there. If we turn off the automation and take another listen to this. Oh, hang on. That's not turning off the automation, Pete. Come out of there. No, see, the automation's still on there. No, now I've messed it up and I've turned it all the way down. We'll just undo it until it goes all the way. There we go. Go away. There. All right. So the automation is completely gone. That's that click and pop. That, because it just goes off halfway through. So a little bit of crossfading, use 2 tracks, use your automation. In my view, in my experience, it's the best way to give you that blended sound. As opposed to a harsh click or pop, you get a nice crossfaded one going down, one coming up, and it works well for vocals, for guitars, for anything that you need to fade between one and another. Hopefully that helps. Excuse me. We'll scroll on down. We got various chat going on here, which is always good. Yeah, and Tom's already explained that. Automate the volume of one sample to come up while simultaneously making the other one fade out. I love it when I answer a question and then someone puts something in the chat that answers that same question in about 10 seconds. But hopefully seeing the actual example is helpful. Hello to you, Bear. Yes, it is Eric Stefani, correct. Eric Stefani, who is the guitarist for No Doubt and also a writer, or an animator, actually. I think I got it all wrong. He's an animator, I think, on The Simpsons, early years of The Simpsons. Anyway, question here from Bear. Is there a difference between the Mac Mini M1 with 8 gigabytes versus 16 gigabytes of RAM? I can really only give you my view, which is that I've been using the Mac Mini with 8 gigabytes of RAM for coming up to 6 months now. I bought it in October last year, so coming up on 6 months, and it has not missed a beat. I've not thrown... Now, keep this in mind, I don't use Logic with a bunch of virtual instruments and like 32 tracks running at once and a bunch of processing, but even people who do are telling us that it's working great, that they're not having any dropouts, that the 8 gigabytes of RAM and the base model is actually working well for them. Now, If you wanted to have, like, I bought this machine because I just wanted to try a Mac. It's my first ever Mac. If you wanted a machine that you can keep for the next 5, 6, 10 years, I would probably consider upgrading to the 16 gigabytes of RAM because it's not like programs are going to get less RAM hungry. Although I say that, and some programs seem to be running more efficiently now than they ever have before, like GarageBand. But for me, using GarageBand, doing what I'm doing here. So I'm live streaming a 1080p webcam here. I'm screen sharing my screen. I'm also airplaying my iPad to this screen as well. That's all being displayed at 1080p. It's processing my audio in real time, and I'm streaming everything out here and putting comments and things up. So my PC would have been having kittens by now, and did in fact. So whenever I was using my PC, and that had 16 gig of RAM and an i5 processor. So yeah, the 8 gig iPad M1 is really good. And it's not just my experience. Everyone else that has the M1 seems to be having the same experience. So if budget is an issue, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the 8 gigabyte model, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, because it's working well. And it continues to work well, and I'll let you know. As soon as it doesn't, I'll let you know. Hey, it's Gary Hubs. How are you, Gazza? Hope you are doing well. I want to make a song, but I don't know what type and what melody I should use. Okay, use this one. I'll tell you what melody you should use, because don't tell me I'm not helpful. I'm going to write you a melody, and you can own this one. This will be your melody. So we'll use this this keyboard here. What sort of lead is this? No, we need a better keyboard than that, don't we? Let's go with the lead, the 80 sync lead. Yeah, this one. All right, so I'm going to write your melody here. Let's come out of there. We'll go back and we'll put this drum beat behind you so that you can use this. It's at 110 BPM. We'll slide that one there, and we'll mute this guitar because we don't want that one. When you're writing a melody, I'm doing this for a bit of fun, but yeah, when you're writing a melody, it really is all about experimentation and just sort of working out what's gonna sound good for what you're trying to do. So we'll hit the button here. All right, so what's it? I reckon that's a cool melody. Let's try this too. 4, let's go. Yeah, I reckon that's a cool melody. So we've gone with that. So like C, 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 E, C, E. No, we want F, C, 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 E, G, 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 F. See, because you got the major going up and then the minor going down. So there, that's yours now. You may own that. Here we go. Not playing very well with my fingers on the keyboard. But yeah, I do all that to make the point that just try something and see what works. And if that doesn't work and you don't like that, you don't think that that's going to be cool, try something else. Or the other way around it is to start using your autoplay feature. So I cover autoplay in GarageBand as well. But yeah, just have fun with it, to be honest. Just experiment, have some fun, and see what comes out. Or do loop roulette. I did a video recently about loop roulette, which is really fun. Cool way to just throw something at the wall and see what sticks, yeah? Very cool. All right, scrolling back up because I haven't followed my own advice, and I haven't answered questions fast enough. Christopher says, I wish I was related to Glenn. would give a leg up on the whole music, mate. Yeah, exactly. Would be nice, isn't it, to have connections in the game. Hey Pete, what are some apps that are worth buying? What's going off here? I had an alarm going off here. Must be a 7 o'clock alarm. What are some apps that you recommend that are worth buying, and why? So instead of answering this, I would go and check out. So for purchased apps, I actually have an entire video on this. So if we go Pete John's best apps, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so I've got quite a few here. I would check out, because my opinion hasn't changed much since then. If you put Pete John's best apps in here, check out this one. This is my top 10 paid iOS. I did have a free one as well. There you go. There's the top 10 free plugins. So if you want some free stuff, check out that video there. And then I've got my top 10 paid apps. And to give you an idea, for a spoiler alert, but down here in the description, you'll have all of the different apps. Show more. So we're talking Nembrini Soundmaster, the Amp Sim, we've got Cubase's 3, Visibel Visualizer, Sensual Sax, Ravenscroft, Bruce Free, Mixbox, the multi-effects processor, Audio Share, which we talked about, and Final Touch. So they are my 10 apps of best apps of last year, and again, that was only 4 months ago, so not much has changed there. I would go with that myself. Jack Smith, I've got the Mackies, the speakers, monitor speakers, and Bluetooth as well. Yeah, there's a Bluetooth model of the Presonus ones. I just don't have them. I went with the standard ones. I can't get my Boss GET1 effects processor into my iPhone with a camera adapter. iPhone 11. Do I need a powered USB hub? I want to be portable as well. Yeah. So if you've got, if the Boss effects processor is class compliant, meaning it doesn't need a driver to run, then it should work. But yeah, you would need the Lightning to USB 3 adapter, and some things need a bit more power. If it's going to drain some juice, especially for an iPhone, the iPhone 11s are pretty powerful, but I've found that even with the iPhone 12 Pro, excuse me, even with the iPhone 12 Pro, I do need to have some additional power. So if I'm plugging in an audio interface, I'll then need to have a Lightning to USB 3 adapter with at least, so you may not need a powered USB hub. You may be able to get away with just plugging into AC power, or if you're on the go, just get a portable battery and plug the Lightning connection into the Lightning port there and power it up through there. Because, yeah, the standard one, it probably won't have enough juice to power it up. So there's a couple of videos I can recommend you to take a look at there. Lightning to USB. So I would look at... this one here is probably the best for you to take a look at. Multiple USB devices to an iPad, iPhone. So this covers everything. This covers using the Lightning to USB 3 adapter. It covers connecting up multiple bits of gear like your mouse and your keyboard and your audio interface and your microphone, and also using a powered USB hub, and even how to power a powered USB hub with a portable battery. Because don't forget that a powered USB hub just uses a 5-volt DC converter. So yes, they usually just come with a plug that you plug into the wall, but you can actually get a kit. I'll show it to you. I've got it handy down here. You can get a kit like this. I've labeled it there, USB power hub cables. Let me just show you. This one here. So this is a little adapter kit, and this gives you the ability to have any other sort of cable. So what I've got here, it comes with a USB cable like that, and a bunch of these, and then you can actually adapt that barrel plug to a bunch of different ones. I'd recommend having one of these around. It just means if you've got a USB device and it's powered by one of these, you can see there, you've got a whole bunch of different tips that you can put in there. And one of these works with the 10 DAC powered USB hub. So all those bits of gear are in the description of that video and over at studiolivetoday.com/gear. Pop that away or I'll lose it. Pop it away for another day. Tom Kuehl, hello to you and hello to everyone. I hope you're doing well. Clara says, hi, I'd like to record vocals on an 88 and an 88 keys Yamaha PS 105 keyboard at the same time using a Scarlett 2i4. What would you suggest? So it depends. If you want to use the keyboard as a MIDI controller, it's probably actually easier because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Scarlett 2i4 has 2 mic preamps. Actually, does it have, let me check. If it has a stereo line in and the 2 microphones, then you can do it either way. So let's just take a look. Cause I get confused with the Scarletts because I use the Steinberg interface. But if we go here to Sweetwater and let's find it. So here's the Scarlett. Oh, that's the 404. That's the 4i4. We're looking for the 2i4. 2i4. Where are you? Do they not sell it anymore? No, it appears that they don't. Let's say Scarlett's 2. Scarlett Johansson. I search for interfaces. My wife will say, why were you searching for Scarlett Johansson? Is there a 2i4 or is it the 4i4? Am I getting confused here? Because there's a 2i2 and then there's the 4i4. So regardless, so if you've got a 2i2, then and you've only got the 2 inputs, then you can only record. So you would be able to record stereo piano and a microphone at the same time. So you'd be able to make a call here. You'd be able to either go in your one input. In fact, I've got a Scarlett thing right in front of here. Let's just use this. So if you've got something like this, you'd have one input here. You can put your microphone in there. You can then use the line input of this one for your piano, but you're only going to get it in mono. Now, if you've got the 4i4, that actually also has a stereo input at the back here. So if you've got a device that has stereo, so channels 3 and 4, then you can plug stereo out of your keyboard, go stereo into channels 3 and 4, and then you've got channels 1 and 2 to use your microphone in. So it really depends on how many things you got there. The other option you have is to hook up your keyboard as a MIDI controller. And again, that same video that I just suggested before, this one here, with your multiple USB devices, that'll help you out, because what you can actually do is connect up your Scarlett interface and your keyboard as a MIDI controller, and then set up GarageBand so that you're recording two things at once. So you could actually have this, so say this one is your mic channel, just set this to channel 1, and then this one would be your MIDI, which is controlled via your MIDI controller over USB. You'd need a powered USB hub and a lightning to USB 3 adapter, and you would be off to the races. It would work for you. So hopefully that gives you a couple of ideas there. Marcia ordered $30-ish headphones. I hope you get $30-ish of value. I tend to, $30 headphones are okay, but the thing is, I've said this a lot, but it's kind of like wine. The difference between a $30 pair and a $100 pair like these ones, the Senis, the 280 Pros, is quite a lot. $100 up to $300 up to $500 is less. So it doesn't mean you can't get away with it. Again, use what you have, spend what you have. If it's an upgrade, it's an upgrade, right? And it's more important that you know your own speakers or you know your own headphones as opposed to the actual ones you have. Can you please make a review of the Bose S1 Pro? You will really like that speaker. I'm not aware of that speaker. Maybe. I don't really have I've bought a lot of stuff lately. I don't have much of a budget for buying, so you might need to look elsewhere for that. Hello to Steve Dugan, says, I'm a dad making music for myself. How many amateurs like me have you found to be brilliant in their output? Heaps, to be honest. And Steve, if you're not already, I'd recommend jumping over to the Create, Record, Release Facebook group, because there are 700 plus people there now who are very similar to you and I, who are making music. Some of them are making music because they want to sell it, some because they just want to share it, some because they want to do it for themselves. But everyone there has the same kind of goal, which is to create, record, and release their best music. So, yeah, I've been blown away. Some of my favorite artists now are people that are sitting in this chat right now. No, not actually even joking, because I do a weekly show called Your Music Live, where I showcase independent artists, and some of those independent artists are now some of my favorite artists to listen to, period. Absolutely. Question from Huska. At what point do we upgrade to Logic? I've seen not like the samples or most plugins, so I feel like I should be fine with GarageBand. Yeah, it depends. Upgrade when you need to. So I've said this a bunch of times, and for the regulars, I won't bore you with the detail, but don't upgrade thinking it's going to improve your music. It's not going to improve your music. It's going to give you more options to make different music in the future. But if you don't yet know how to use every feature in GarageBand, you may find that you just overwhelm yourself with options and features. So don't jump into it just because you think it's going to make your music better. It's going to make you a better songwriter, better producer. It's more likely to actually take you one mini step backwards while you learn and while you get your workflow adapted to a new piece of software. So yeah, spend some time with GarageBand. I mean, I spent 5 years on GarageBand iOS before I even tried GarageBand Mac, and I'll probably spend at least another few months using GarageBand Mac before I even sample the world of Logic. So there you go. And then fire, not fire, although hopefully I'm fire. Yeah, hopefully we're all fire. Pens versus Fly. Yeah, Pens Flyers again tonight in the hockey. I might be watching that one after the show. I was talking with Tom Rochelle, actually, that, they got fans back at the rinks in North America. And I'm like, okay, hope you know what you're doing, guys. I wouldn't be rushing into it. But anyway. Here we go. Answer. Petrons, my name is pronounced like Saga Tale Story. Oh, Saga, like a tale or a story. Saga. Okay, I'll remember that now. Let's do some connection. Saga. The saga begins. Star Wars. Saga. Star Wars. Saga begins. Saga. There you go. Locked in. Does anyone else ever do that? It's a trick I learned back in the corporate world, is that you lock in names by thinking of things, and now I'll associate Star Wars. So every time I see you now, I'll be thinking about Jar Jar Binks. Just so you know. Desolate Morning, I bought the iRig Pro Duo thanks to your recommendation and your link. Well, thank you very much. And if you want to be cool like Desolate Morning, you can actually do the same thing. If you go to studiolivetoday.com/gear, that website right there, that's got all of my gear recommendations, all the stuff that I use and recommend in the home studio. So if you're in the market for some gear, you can do exactly that. And the iRig Pro IO that I have, the Pro Duo, is the 2-channel version of that, and it does have balanced output. So if you're looking for a convenient way to record, I think that you will not be disappointed with that one. I've actually got IK Multimedia, who make the iRig series, actually reached out to me, and there's the iRig Pre HD2 has just been released. And it's basically like just a mic preamp. So if you're not a guitarist, if you'll never need any other input apart from a mic pre, and you just want a simple solution for microphones, expect a review of that one coming to a channel near you. In fact, this channel. This channel near you. Question, as suggested with vocal, made 2 tracks. Hang on. As suggested with vocal, made 2 tracks and made one with very low extra reverb. Yep. Would you suggest panning the 2 tracks on opposite sides? Interesting question. So what Joe's talking about here is that sometimes if say this is a vocal, it's not. Let's say it is. If we duplicate this track and we record the vocal twice, we do a vocal doubling. We can thicken up the sound. Now you don't want to just copy and paste this. If we just go like this, if we copy this and paste it down here, and then play these 2 tracks, all you're doing is doubling your volume. And even if, like what a lot of folks do is they'll do that. They'll copy and paste it onto a second track, and then they'll come in here to their mixer, they'll pan one to the left and one to the right. You know what that's done? That's just doubled the volume. It's not done anything. Now, regardless of where you pan it, if it's the exact same sound, it's doing officially nothing. So don't do that. The other trick people use is that they'll delay one by like a couple of milliseconds. So they'll come in here and they'll do this business. Oh, hang on, it won't do that because it's there you go, we'll have to cut the front off. We'll have to cut the back off of it so that we can actually delay it. I know, a bit clunky here, but if we just delay this slightly, then you get a bit of a sound like this. Can you hear that slight delay is making it slightly delayed? And then if you put one on the left and one on the right, you're getting a bit of a delayed sound. Like, that's okay, and you can use that for a vocal, but I tend to leave my vocals down the center, to be honest. My main vocal, if you've got a triple vocal, so what I've done sometimes is tripled my vocal, and that can create a really nice wall of sound. So if you recorded your first vocal here, Joe, you recorded it a second time, and then you recorded it, you duplicated it out and recorded it a third time, then yeah, what you might want to do is put one down the middle with your standard compression and your standard reverb on there, and then maybe grab this one and stick this over on the left and like make it swim in a bit more reverb, and stick this one on the right, make it swim in a bit more reverb, and then you can get this nice full kind of bouncing around church hall kind of sound. So that's another option there. But must admit, if I've only got 2 vocals, I'll keep them down the middle, because it sounds strange to have 2 vocals and them to be too wide. Or if I do bring them, if I've doubled a vocal and I want a little bit of width, I might move one just a little. So say if I've got this one here, I might just bring it just to the side there and just to the side there. But play around with it. There's no right or wrong when it comes to mixing and trying this stuff. So play around, mix it up, and see what works for you. Alrighty, we'll see who else we got here. Gazzo, hello to you. Hello, good morning. We've got Michael, aka Zilland Band. Hello to you as well. Just working and heckling me. Absolutely. Is there a way to sync the metronome from an external source like a synth with the metronome in GarageBand? When I try to record the JDX cell, the metronome is slightly off, which is annoying. So it depends on the device you're using, but there is a MIDI clock option here. If we come into the advanced settings here, there's this one here, send MIDI clock. So if you're using an external MIDI device and you're finding it's not syncing with the tempo of your MIDI device, come in here, turn that one on, and as it says here, this says MIDI clock transmits MIDI clock to other music apps or connected MIDI devices. So I think that may be what you're missing there. Go into your advanced settings. I'll just show you that one more time. Here in your main menu, hit the settings icon there, come down to advanced, turn on send MIDI clock, and you should not have those sync issues anymore. There you go. I love it when there's a question that that probably has a simple answer. You'll go to do it and then it'll do something else weird. That seems to be how things roll sometimes. Thank you, Danny. The thing is, I know it well enough, and then we've got this amazing community of people who know it even better. If you go to the GarageBand users Facebook group, there's like thousands of people there who can actually do that. Question from Tom and Co. An annoying squeak noise has developed at the point where one loop meets the next one, both MIDI and live recording. Any help to get rid of this? Greatly appreciated. So I'm not sure if you saw the very start of the show, Tom, but we answered a similar question for Orchestra Eclipse where I actually showed a cross-fading method. So whenever you've got that click, that pop, that squeak, that bit between the two where it's not sounding right, then using a little crossfade is the way to go. So grabbing one of your tracks here, if you scroll back to about the 10-minute mark we showed it, so you put automation on, you automate one to come down, so you grab it here, you go like that, you automate one track to go down, and then at the same time, you automate the other track to come up. So if you're mixing between two, you can't really do it, and this is the thing, where people get trapped is that they try to bring the second sample in on the same track, and then do the crossfade there. GarageBand doesn't allow you to do that. Some other DAWs do, but GarageBand doesn't. So what you'll need to do is create a second track for your second loop, sample, guitar part, vocal, whatever it is, fade one out, fade the other one in. And it doesn't have to be a big fade like that if that's not working. We can literally be doing a fade like this. You can make the fade really sharp. You're just trying to reduce that zero volume to full volume or full volume to zero volume. If you ramp it down, even if it only takes a couple of milliseconds to ramp down, it's still going to reduce that really harsh click, pop, squeak sound that you get in there. So hopefully that helps you and others out as well. When I set both to 77, they're not the same. Yeah, try that send MIDI clock. Try that one. Oh, Gary, I'm so glad to hear that your ports are clean as a whistle now. Is everything working for you though, Gary? Have you got your iRig working? So Gary was having an issue with his iRig, and I actually recommended to him, and this is a bit weird, I know, but if you go me and Lightning port, I've actually got a few videos, and believe it or not, they're like the most watched videos on my entire channel, which is a little bit weird. I said, I can't even find it. If I search for the headphone jack version, in fact, if you type in there, headphone jack not working, the first response that you get, actually second now, oh, someone's taken over. The second response you get is this one here. So I'll give you the spoiler alert, use a toothpick. You can see it on the, people are like, oh, this was such clickbait. It took you 10 minutes to say use a toothpick. You're like, I literally show putting a toothpick into the port on the very front screen of the video. But anyway, yeah, grab a toothpick because the wood will mean that you won't scratch anything too badly inside there. You can get into your headphone jacks or your lightning ports and little gentle scrape. You'll be absolutely astonished at how much crud is in there, especially if you store your phone in your pocket, especially if you wear jeans. Yeah, you'll find that it's a lot of crud in there. So hopefully, Gary, that has helped you and given you nice, strong connections with your lightning jacks since then. Question. Hello, I love your videos a lot. Thank you. I have a slightly different non-tech question. Is there anything wrong with musicians making content that's heavily curated, heavily catered for a certain audience? No. Especially if that audience is something that you dig. What I wouldn't suggest you do is base your entire music creation around just what's popular. We see this in the YouTube content creation space. Like right now, NFTs are the biggest thing since sliced bread. They're so interesting and fascinating and important. And suddenly everyone is a cryptocurrency and NFT expert. These are people that had no interest in it a month ago, but are now like gurus in it. So I say that to say just because trap music was super popular a couple of years ago doesn't mean you had to suddenly become a trap beat producer. And it's the same right now. Pop music's pretty popular. Not everyone needs to be creating Billie Eilish-like pop pieces. So make sure that you have the interest first and that you're actually inspired and motivated to make the music and then make the music. But yeah, if you're catering for an audience, that's totally fine. This channel right now, someone owns $1 million studio and has like a giant mixing desk and big treated rooms and they're doing mixing for clients. They're probably not going to watch this channel. Why? Because we cater for independent artists and we cater for folks who are in the home studio creating music, trying to get their best possible sound. So yeah, short answer, no problem at all. In fact, it's probably a better thing. What's the old adage? If you try to please everyone, you will end up pleasing no one. So try that. Paul Huffman says, I'm getting a surprising amount of bleed from other tracks while recording a solo track. Is that normal? I'm recording with the mic internal to iPad and use an iRig connection for the headphone. Yes. So the short answer to this one is yes. So if you're using I don't have my iRig handy, but this is similar to an iRig. If you're using something that uses the headphone jack, there is quite a lot of bleed. There's quite a lot of interference and crossover that comes in through the headphone jack. So what you'll find is, even when you plug your headphones in here and you're listening out through headphones, and then you've got your guitar plugged in here, and it's recording through here, it'll still be picking up the playback because an analog connection is not going to keep it nice and airtight. So you are going to get, there's two problems with an analog device. You're going to get distortion and feedback if you're using some distorted guitar tones. So that can be a problem. And you do get a significantly larger amount of bleed using this. The solution, unfortunately, I don't like to say that the solution is to spend money, but the solution is to get something like the iRig Pro that we were talking about before. I think Gary just picked up one of these, and who was it? Desolate Mornings just grabbed one. The iRig Pro I/O. So either the Pro I/O or the Pro Duo. That connects up via your Lightning port, and that means you're creating a digital connection. It means it's much lower noise. You'll be blown away by how much lower noise and distortion and interference and feedback you get, and you won't get that same level of bleed because it's not going through the headphone jack. There's no chance of the playback looping back and getting into there. So again, it's the trade-off, and I know the difference. Like this is the original iRig's like a $20 device. This is about a $40 device, and the iRig Pro I/O is like a $150 device. So I understand that that's a bigger investment, but it will actually help improve your quality. Again, it's that $5 to $20 bottle of wine. You don't need to go to the $100 bottle of wine, but the difference between the cheapest and that mid-range is definitely going to be there. And yeah, Scott says, find your niche, right? Yeah, exactly. Find your niche and do what makes you happy, as someone very wise once said. Let's see. Better not write a hit if you're giving it away. Yeah, you know. And if you do, that's the thing. If you write, people are very worried about the music. Again, I'm going to go on a mini rant here, but people get very, and Dean, this isn't directed at you because I know you don't think this way either, mate, but people get very worried and very protective of their music because they're like, oh, I'm going to write this one song, it's going to be the only good song, and then someone's going to steal my melody or steal my hook, and then it's going to become famous, and then it's going to, I would have made millions and trillions of dollars, and then someone else is going to benefit from my hard work. Or if you have the capacity to write a cool song that someone cares about stealing, then guess what? You're super talented, and you can just continue creating more and more and more music. Because if it's good enough that Beyonce's manager steals it and sends it to hers and she has a number one hit, well, then you're a good creator. And maybe you should focus more of your energy and attention on creating than worrying about chasing around your copyrights and protecting your stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's all he said, she said in the music business anyway. And you can go through all the litigious processes, but guess what? Big labels got more money, more power, more clout. You're going to spend your whole life worrying about it if you worry about it. But hey, you do you. More power to you. And again, I apologize. That wasn't just directed at you, Dean. That was more of a general statement. Jay says, I love how Pete misses the cool nicknames. Think Abracadabra, Saga Cadabra. Yeah, I know. I totally do that. There was Saga Cadabra. And I totally miss, but see, that's why it could be Saga Cadabra, right? There you go. And that's good. Love Star Wars and Jar Jar Binks. All right, let's scroll back up here and I'll see, because it's done its thing where it just does its little scroll down thing. So I'm going to have missed a bunch of questions. And by the way, if you do have questions that I've missed here, because I will have, then you can jump in to Home Studio Q&A, which is happening this time in 2 days' time. So tomorrow we have YML, Your Music Live, 2 hours of independent music from the Studio Live Today community. That's always a heck of a lot of fun. So do tune in for that one. The following day we have Home Studio Q&A. So we do another hour of Q&A. And in fact, you can jump right over to studiolivetoday.com. So if you get to the end of this and you're like, oh, Pete didn't answer my question, what a bugger, then all you need to do is go to studiolivetoday.com/QA. You'll get this form, you put your name, you put your question, and that queues it up. And then in Home Studio Q&A, I actually go and answer them in order, and we make sure we don't miss one. These ones are a bit more free form, so we jump around and I kind of miss a few questions. So if you don't get your question answered today, don't worry, you can go and get it answered in Home Studio Q&A. Infarction's got some additional info. None of the Roland and Boss Effects processors are class compliant. I have one and it cannot connect directly, only via an interface. Boo, boo, boo. So yeah, that was for our friend who was asking before about connecting up a Boss or a Roland processor. Yeah, if they're not class compliant, and if you don't know what class compliance is, it means it needs a driver to run on a Mac or a PC. So if it needs a driver to run on a Mac or a PC, and a lot of Boss and Rolling Gear seems to, then it won't work on iOS because it's not what's called class compliant, which means it has a driverless operation and doesn't need a driver to run, just as a standard USB audio device. So what Infarction's saying here is you'll need to get yourself something like a Scarlett 2i2, a Steinberg UR22, some sort of stereo audio interface, or the iRig Pro Duo that a couple of folks have talked about, and then you can plug your effects processor out into the stereo line in of your audio interface. So you will need an extra piece of kit, which is sad because those devices have USB connectivity, but only for a Mac or PC. And for something that's sort of designed to be portable, it kind of blows me away that some of these devices are not class compliant. Hello to Mike Holmes. Hiya, Pete. Your thoughts on recording electric guitar via mic'd amp versus plugged into GB amp sim? Really good question, and I have covered this a couple of times. To be honest, my default answer these days is probably due to my laziness, but it is to use a GarageBand amp sim. So I have done a video, let's just find it, Pete John's real guitar, I think. And real guitar is just because I was talking about a real amp. So here's a video if you want to go and check out my experience. So there I am with my Marshall. It's not a fancy Marshall, it's a little transistor Marshall. It's not a valve amp or anything cool, but it does the job. So I recorded guitar with my Marshall and with just a condenser microphone. You can also connect guitar pedals in and use kind of the best of both worlds. So in this one, I grab a Boss DS1 classic distortion pedal and throw it into an amp simulator in GarageBand. And of course, there's a heap of videos on here about recording guitars with amp sims. So probably the latest one here is my Tone Bridge video. So I showed how to use Tone Bridge, which is totally free. There you go. There's the 5-minute version and the 56-minute version of that. So if you search Pete John's Tone Bridge. So these days, though, because I'm a lazy man, I used to say I'm a busy man, but now I just say I'm a lazy man. Because I'm a lazy sod, I basically just plug in. And the guitar tones that you get in something like Tone Bridge, Bias FX, Amplitude, even the GarageBand amp simulators are so good these days, I cannot replicate that tone using my Marshall and using my pedals without a heck of a lot of effort. So these days, I tend to just use an amp sim almost always. Almost always. Ed Zed, hello to you. I do have your song, and it's on the list today. I'm in the studio today after this show, so I will be listening to it. Ed's one of my wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/PeteJohns, and he supports me there, and I'm taking a look at a song of his, giving a little bit of feedback, and then eventually, hopefully, we'll be hearing that on Your Music Live. All right, we are right on this cusp of time. We'll see if we have a couple of quick fire questions before we go. Why are GarageBand songs so large when they're exported, or is there something I can do to make the MPEG file smaller? Not talking about zip files. Yeah, so you can use, when you export, you can export either as M4A compressed or uncompressed WAV or AIF. And you have the different options there. When you hit the share button, just use the smallest option if you want to save space and if you want to send it to people. Scroll down. What can you do when you max out the number of tracks in a project but you need more? Use the merge function to create more tracks. So just search Pete John's merge, MERGE, and what you'll need to do is merge together, say, 6 guitar tracks to 1 guitar track overall. You can merge down tracks. Backing vocals are good for merging down. Yeah, play around with the merge function. That's cool. Scroll down. What do you think of the Mac Mini for GarageBand Mac after the news that it eats its SSD? Oh, it eats its SSD? I know you did a video before. I haven't heard that. I'll have to look into that. Maybe send me some details of that, Mike. And for GarageBand Weekly this week, we can talk about it. That doesn't sound good. Eats it. And what is your opinion on the Mammoth bass plugin? Thinking of getting it since it's on sale right now from $19 to $7.99. Yeah, the Mammoth bass plugin, I'm pretty sure, and this will be a good segue, I'm pretty sure Jade Starr has done a video on the Mammoth bass plugin. She has indeed. So I would go over and watch Jade Starr's How To App show. Just search Jade Starr Mammoth. And she actually did a full review on the Mammoth bass for some metal. And she created some pretty cool metal sounds using that one. Speaking of Jade Starr, if you want some more music creation goodness, guess what? Scheduled right now, in 1 minute's time, you can jump over to her How To App show. And she's actually got an interview. It's her interview day. So she'll be interviewing Lady Rodeline Straight, who is an outstanding singer and home studio creator. So you will not want to miss that one. There you go. Click that one. Hit the like button on that one. Make sure that you're ready to go because they are about to kick off that interview. So there you go. I'll close that, otherwise it'll pop up. Thank you everyone for being here. I do apologize that I missed. Every time I do these, I think next time I should do 2 hours because 1 hour never seems like enough. But again, if you did get your question not answered, you can jump over to studiolivetoday.com/QA, enter your question in the form there, and we'll get you any questions that are in that form in Home Studio Q&A this weekend. Speaking of the weekend, big weekend coming up. Your Music Live tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. That is tomorrow, and then Home Studio Q&A the following day, and GarageBand Weekly the following day. So you've got 3 days. Tune in at midday, 3 p.m. on the East Coast, 8 p.m. if you're in London or Greenwich Mean Time, and you can do the conversions at 7 a.m. for the folks over on the East Coast of Australia. Thanks everyone for being here. Remember, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating, and